In a world filled with fleeting trends and passing fame, some names endure. Not because they chased fame, but because they lived with unshakable intensity, turning pain into poetry, sorrow into color. One of those rare, unforgettable names is Frida Kahlo. Her life was a storm of love and suffering, politics and paint, resilience and rebellion. Frida did not just create art, she bled it onto canvas. This is the extraordinary, defiant, and heart-wrenching story of Frida Kahlo, the woman behind the crown of flowers, the iconic eyebrows, and the paintings that continue to pierce hearts across generations. Chapter 1: A Child of Revolution and Shadows. Frida Kahlo was born on July 6, 1907, in Coyoacán, Mexico City, in the famed Casa Azul, the Blue House, where she would also take her final breath. Though she often claimed to be born in 1910, the year of the Mexican Revolution, Frida did this deliberately, to tie her identity to the birth of modern Mexico. She was always political, even from a young age. Her father, Guillermo Kahlo, was a German-Mexican photographer. He nurtured her intellect, creativity, and independence. But her childhood was anything but easy. At just 6 years old, Frida contracted polio, leaving her right leg thinner and weaker than the left. Cruel nicknames followed her at school, but she refused to be broken. She climbed trees, wrestled boys, and walked with defiance. It was the beginning of a lifetime of enduring, and confronting, physical pain. Chapter 2: The Crash That Changed Everything. At 18, her life took a devastating turn. On September 17, 1925, Frida was riding a bus that collided with a streetcar. The steel handrail impaled her pelvis. Her spine was shattered. Her collarbone, ribs, leg, and foot were broken. Her body was literally broken in half. She was trapped in a full-body cast for months, undergoing more than 30 surgeries in her lifetime. It was during this long, lonely recovery that Frida turned seriously to painting. Her mother fashioned a makeshift easel so she could paint in bed. A mirror was placed above her so she could paint what she knew best, herself. That's why so many of her paintings are self-portraits. As she famously said, "I paint myself because I am so often alone, and because I am the subject I know best." Chapter 3: The Love and the Legend, Diego Rivera. By her early 20s, Frida had recovered enough to walk and travel again. She had become deeply immersed in Mexican culture and leftist politics. And that's when she met the man who would define her life in both triumph and torment, Diego Rivera. Diego was already a giant of Mexican muralism, twice her age, physically imposing, charismatic, and politically radical. Frida, bold and unafraid, approached him with her paintings and asked if her art was worth pursuing. Diego was floored. Not only did he see talent, he saw fire. The two married in 1929. She was 22. He was 42. Their union was legendary, and tumultuous. Diego had countless affairs, even with Frida's sister, Cristina. Frida, too, had her lovers, both men and women, including rumored relationships with Leon Trotsky and actress Josephine Baker. But no matter the betrayals, the separations, or the heartbreak, their love endured. Frida once said, "There have been two great accidents in my life. One was the trolley, and the other was Diego. Diego was by far the worst." Chapter 4: The Artist and the Pain. Frida Kahlo's paintings are not just beautiful, they are brutal, unfiltered, and deeply personal. She didn't paint the outside world, she painted her inner world. Her canvases held her suffering, her miscarriages, her spinal surgeries, and her tormented love. She laid herself bare in a way few artists dared. Works like The Broken Column, Henry Ford Hospital, and The Two Fridas show a raw, emotional vocabulary unlike any artist before her. Her paintings were autobiographies without words. Frida blended realism, symbolism, and surrealism, though she rejected the surrealist label, saying, "I never painted dreams. I painted my own reality." And her reality was filled with agony. Despite multiple surgeries and attempts to have children, Frida remained childless, a pain that haunted her deeply. Her longing for motherhood appears again and again in her work. Chapter 5, Rise to Icon. Frida wasn't widely recognized during most of her life. For years, she was seen as simply Diego Rivera's wife. But in 1938, she had her first solo exhibition in New York, followed by a show in Paris. The surrealists adored her. Picasso admired her work. But still, in her own Chapter 5, Rise to Icon. Frida wasn't widely recognized during most of her life. For years, she was seen as simply Diego Rivera's wife. But in 1938, she had her first solo exhibition in New York, followed by a show in Paris. The surrealists adored her. Picasso admired her work. But still, in her own country, she was largely underappreciated. That didn't stop her. As her health declined in the 1940s and early 50s, she kept painting, even when bedridden. Even when in constant pain. Even when she lost her leg to gangrene in 1953. In fact, at her first solo exhibition in Mexico, doctors advised her not to attend. Frida, defiant as ever, had her bed carried into the gallery, and she laid there, greeting guests with flowers in her hair and a cigarette in her hand. Chapter 6, Death and Afterlife. Frida Kahlo died on July 13, 1954, at the age of 47. Her death was officially listed as a pulmonary embolism, but some believe it may have been suicide. In her final diary entry, she wrote, "I hope the exit is joyful, and I hope never to return." Her death was the end of a body in pain, but the beginning of an eternal legacy. Frida Kahlo has since become a symbol of feminism, disability activism, Latina pride, and artistic fearlessness. Her image, flower crown, bold eyebrows, fiery gaze, has become an icon. But more than a symbol, she remains a deeply human artist. One who gave the world permission to be vulnerable, to be wounded, to be unashamed of suffering. Closing reflections. Frida Kahlo didn't ask for a quiet life. She asked for a meaningful one. She gave voice to pain in a way that empowered others. She painted the invisible. She made the broken beautiful. And today, the world finally sees what Frida knew all along, that truth, however painful, is art's most powerful weapon. Thank you for joining me in remembering Frida Kahlo, the woman who turned pain into paint, and left behind a legacy that no brushstroke could ever erase. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more unforgettable lives from history's most remarkable figures. Until next time, stay curious.